Stochastic terrorism. Because why not? Why not? Let's talk about stochastic terrorism. I'm all about the keeping it light, keeping it fluffy. There's a reason I'm bringing this up. Recently, this is friend of the show, Charlie Kirk, good buddy of mine. So this is from Turning Point USA event. That's Charlie Kirk there, looking all Charlie Kirk-like.
You ready? You're brave. You're brave for what you say, and the fact that you stand up there and say it, and I appreciate it. I think we all appreciate it, actually, because there's not a lot of people that have the balls to do it.
Yeah, Charlie Kirk. The
I
balls.
want to ask you something a little bit out of the ordinary, so prepare yourself. At this point, we're living under a corporate and medical fascism. This
Are
is
we?
tyranny.
Ooh.
When do we get to use the guns? No, and I'm not, that's not a joke. I'm not saying it like that. I mean, literally, where's the line? How many elections are they going to steal before we kill these people?
So, no, no, hold on.
So, that's a question. When do we get to start murdering people who voted a way we didn't like? Let's see how Charlie handles this.
No, stop. Hold on. Now, I'm going to denounce that. I'm going to tell you why. Because you're playing into all their plans, and they're trying to make you do this. That's okay. Just hear me out. You started with a compliment, so at least give me a little bit. They are trying to provoke you and everyone here. They are trying to make you do something that will be violent, that will justify a takeover of your freedoms and liberties, the likes of which we have never seen. We are close to have, hold on, we are close to have momentum to be able to get this country back on a trajectory using the peaceful means that we have at us. So to answer your question, and I just think it's, overly blunt, we have to be the ones that do not play into the violent aims and ambitions of the other side. They fear, let me say this very clearly, they fear us holding the line with self-control. If you think that, Waco is bad, wait till you see what they want to do next.
Okay, we don't need to give Charlie any more time to speak because Charlie Kirk is literally a demon and he can suck my nuts. Interesting response though. I don't know if Charlie's familiar with the fact that first off, the Patriot Act, surprisingly, did not come from the Democrats. That was George Bush Jr. Yikes. Add to that the fact that what he's doing is a really effective backpedal. Because Charlie Kirk and those like him whip their audiences up into a frenzy of rage. This is my favorite clip of the week. Yes, it's so deliciously uncomfortable to see. This is the fruits of his labors. This is what I'm getting at. This is the thing that they do. They whip their base up and they talk about stealing elections and they talk about fascism and vaccine mandates and they're coming for your guns and all this other shit. Specifically to rile up people because angry people are donating people. And donating people are Charlie Kirk's kind of people. Turning Point USA ain't free, goddammit. But then, sometimes they get that direct confrontation that you have whipped me up into this frenzy and I'm here for you. And I want to do this. When can we start the killings? And Charlie Kirk has to be like, whoa, 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 whoa. Guys, hang on. Let's just take a moment and think about this is what they want you to do. This is, it's the Democrat plan to make you the villains, which is, clearly it worked because this is a man wanting to murder people because of garbage. So that's, called out, fella. But yeah, this is the end result of stochastic terrorism. And the thing that Charlie Kirk does not want is to see it. He wants to see it in the headlines. He wants to see that people are taking violent action. Don't get me wrong. Charlie Kirk would be mad hard in the pants if somebody went and quoted Turning Point USA in some fucking shooter manifesto that then went on to kill up a school for, Obama stole votes or some shit. If they quoted Turning Point USA, he'd be very okay with that. But he just doesn't want to have that conversation face to face because it puts him in the awkward position of having to walk back his bullshit and be like, don't kill anyone. I don't want that. Ding, ding. Let's go, Brandon. But please don't kill anyone. And like, if you're going to kill someone and say it was because of me, that's fine. But don't make me complicit in it. Give me that space to be like, guy, I didn't know he was going to do that. When I said, like, let's murder everyone, I didn't know he meant that, he was going to murder everyone. I was just being hyperbolic. Hyperbole. Ugh. First and foremost, stochastic terrorism definition. So, stochastic terrorism. Since 2018, the term stochastic terrorism has become a popular term used when discussing lone wolf attacks. While the exact definition has morphed over time, it has commonly come to refer to a concept whereby consistently demonizing or dehumanizing a target group or individual results in violence that is statistically likely but cannot be easily, accurately predicted. So that's an important thing as far as I'm concerned. When we think about, and both sides are guilty of this. I want to make that perfectly abundantly clear. I am not going to pretend like, oh, it's only the right wing that uses this. The right wing is just really effective at it. The constant perpetual demonization is like their stock in trade. And the culture war has given them whole new ways of demonizing people on the left and political opponents. And it's so essentially what stochastic terrorism is this idea that from 30,000 feet, you can be like, hey, demonize these people. They're scum. They're terrible. They're evil. And someone hearing that, statistically, is going to react to it. Someone is going to react violently to that. But you have enough space between you and that person that you can be like, hey, how was I to know? I did not know that they were doing. I was just saying words, free speech. It's them. They're the problem. They're the ones. That's why these guys that like shoot up schools or shoot up mosques or shoot up, whatever, always leave their little weird manifestos, and they always talk about the same shit. How they were inspired by the discourse and Fox News and Breitbart and all of these different, non-mainstream media sources that essentially radicalized them to do this without having the balls to be like, yeah, we actually did. Right? They just leave that window ajar. Train them so they know violence is okay. Who to do it on, then wait for them to do their job. Exactly. And like this concept is not new, right? We have seen this for all of human history. I'm not going to pretend like it's a new thing, but the rise of fascism obviously was, in the days of Hitler and Mussolini, they really found ways to weaponize this to make the population susceptible to this message. And when you bombard this message, that there are people hearing it, right? And they're gonna act on it. And to me, that's really fucking troubling. It's that spot on the graph where free speech becomes scary. And yeah, I said that. I am not a free speech absolutist. I believe that there's responsibility that comes with freedom. We don't see a lot of that. This approach is so common, and especially in our connected interweb world, there's so much for anyone who is starting to get radicalized to just like move farther and farther down that pipeline. They call it an alt-right pipeline for a reason. Again, I'm not going to pretend like this isn't also true of leftists, but I'm a leftist and I'm not taking ownership for that shit right now. That's just as much a problem. I don't tell people to go out. Well, I probably have told people to go out and punch Nazis, and in fact, you should go out and punch Nazis. Maybe I'm a stochastic terrorist too. I'm probably okay with that. But like, I'm thinking back to like Gamergate and the rise of like Islamophobia among these so-called secular folks and shit like that. Like the sheer volume of information that was designed to make people angry and make people feel like they're under attack was uncomfortable. And I mean, like, this is not changed. Your socialist nature reeks of sedition. Hey, true story. Sedition. And I had that long before January 6th, so completely unrelated to any yahoos storming any Capitol buildings in the United States. Speech has to have responsibility applied to it. I don't feel like I'm being irresponsible if I tell someone to punch a Nazi, because you're damn sure the Nazi would punch you first if given the opportunity. We have a need as a society to feel like we are connected and like we are a part of things. And we have this technology that, like, I'm doing it right now. I'm connecting with you guys and having this conversation. And it's a good thing. But we've also, like, as a culture, I mean, I remember we watched, a couple weeks ago, we watched that TED Talk from Eric Bischoff, which was fascinating and also copyrighted, so we can't bring it back up. But we watched this TED Talk with Eric Bischoff, and he was talking about how the news media has gone from making people think to making people feel. That was sort of the big push of his talk, and how they're using sort of the language and the style of professional wrestling to make people angry, because angry people will watch. When you watch the news to be informed, you watch for, a half an hour, whatever. But they got 24 hours a day of this shit, and they need to keep you glued. So if they keep you angry about things, and like you need to watch to be able to get all of the latest information, that's an easier sell. It's better market share. And this is an example of how capitalism kills motherfuckers. So who gets to decide what gets said? Good question. I am Canadian. I'll fucking decide. Obviously not. But I'm pretty sure we can come up with rules. And rules that are not insane. Rules that are not like overbearing, you can only use Victory brand cigarettes or whatever. Nothing of the ilk. Doesn't have to be George Orwell. But you can say, rather than even saying you can't, you can't say stochastic terrorism, for example. You can't do a stochastic terrorism. Make it so that there are consequences to when you do the stochastic terrorism. So if I say punch a Nazi and some guy goes up and beats a Nazi up, and he, when asked why, he says, well, Big Ugly Jim told me to. All right, that probably means I should have some consequences for my role in that. It shouldn't be like, life in prison or whatever, but I should feel some kind of ramification for that. I'm okay with that. When someone like Charlie Kirk whips his audience up to the point where they're ready to start murdering people, and then they do, which again, I'm taking it one step further than what actually happened. But if Buddy hadn't asked that question, if he just gone and killed someone, Charlie Kirk is partially to blame. So I don't think it's that we stop people from saying these things. It's that we go after them for saying these things. And when there are reactions to their words. If Charlie Kirk is saying, these people, these godless, hateful people are coming to take your guns and you have to stand up to them, and someone stands up to them, gee, Charlie, maybe you're in some trouble. Instead of batting words, how do we make people feel good instead of pissed off? That's a very good question. I think the answer is that we need to work on what we promote as a society. And that's this is a problem of capitalism. Capitalism, if it bleeds, it leads, is no longer valid. Nowadays, if it makes you foam at the mouth, I can't think of a good rhyme for that, but that's the thing that they want you angry so that you can continue to be glued to their programming. And you can feel that that relationship with the person who's telling you. People have this personal connection that they feel to guys like Alex Jones or Charlie Kirk or Nick Fuentes or whatever. They have that feeling. And it's not about the words they say, because you can use any words in a menacing fashion. It's the context behind them. How do we change people from doing that? We change the narrative of our society, and we start talking about being better people and being better to one another and recognizing the humanity in everybody. You know, hashtag lest we forget. Turns out we've been down this road before, and we just didn't figure out a good way to get around the corner. The more we focus on our shared humanity and on our shared desire for the same stuff, the better off we do. Why do people allow themselves to be whipped up? I do it. I get whipped up all the time. I'm not going to pretend for a minute that I don't. It feels good to get angry sometimes. And when, you know, you're watching some news thing and they're like, this is blah, 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 and they're editorializing, and you're like, yeah, motherfucker, yeah, this is so angering. Like, that feels good, and you feel seen, and you feel like you're connected to the conversation, and like you're not the only person pissing into the wind. You're actually part of a movement, and oh my God, we should blow up a school. You know, obviously it doesn't always end with blowing up a school, but that connection matters. That sense of feeling heard and seen and all of that matters. So how do we stop them? Well, we punish them for doing a stochastic terrorism. People don't seem to be getting that white supremacy never went away. You know, if you're not watching videos by Step Back and Three Arrows, like, I highly recommend both of those creators. Three Arrows is a German guy who talks a lot about fascism and the rise of various fascist movements. Step Back is a Canadian who has a whole series on hate. He's a historian, or at least his channel's historian. I don't know what whether he's actually a historian or whatever, but Step Back talks a lot about the weaponizing of hate and from a historical perspective. Both are extremely interesting if you're looking at getting some more information on things. You know, one of the videos I really enjoyed from, I think it was from Step Back, was about how they bridged that gap between the Klan and the militia guys that were coming back from the Vietnam War, and that lie about how the country turned its back on the soldiers and all this shit, how that was essentially like this key component to create that unity, where previously those soldiers didn't want to have nothing to do with the Klan, because the Klan was always talking about Nazism, and Nazis were enemies of the country, and these militia dudes had gone to war to fight enemies, or their parents had gone to war to fight the Nazis. So that was a bridge too far, but you work on building that common ground.
First off, I want to say thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed, please like and subscribe. It really does help me out. Thank you to my patrons that support me on Patreon. I am a little streamer, and these people are all really awesome for supporting me. Thank you to I Am Canadian. Special huge thanks go to my one prophet, Shithead Dave Anderson. And of course, my final tier of supporters is the Gods. This tier is the most expensive and likely to never have any members, but Patreon really told me I should have one, so it's true, I guess. There are no gods. I try to put up stuff at least once a week, and I live stream every Saturday at noon Mountain Time on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, like an old man. Again, thanks for watching, and have a kick-ass day.